What's up YouTube and welcome to a new video. So last week Doug Demuro posted a new video on the Cars and Bits YouTube channel. And in this video he makes several claims about the GT4 market which I think are not correct. He says for example that the 981 GT4 market is in decline and that it is down 15%. I however think that this is false, and as always I will support my claims with some data analysis. So be prepared to crunch some numbers. Before we do that though, let's first see what Doug had to say about the GT4 market. The biggest claim which he made in his video is that the 981 GT4 market took a sharp turn down and that compared to 1 to 1.5 years ago, prices are down by 15%. Also, he says that it is likely that they will continue to decline, but that they will eventually settle at around $60,000. And one of the main reasons he gives for the price decline is the introduction of the new GT4. Doug labels this car as hot, and this is the first thing which caught my attention. I namely think that the new GT4 is not so hot at all. He then continues to argue that because the new GT4 is so hot, many owners of the old GT4 are putting their car up for sale. And according to him, this is increasing the supply in the old GT4 market and pushing prices down. And I can already reveal that I think that actually the opposite is happening. But let's pull in some data and we start with the current GT4 market. In this graph you can see that we have the model year on the horizontal axis and the price on the vertical axis. You can also see that each car which is for sale is represented by a dot, and that in blue we have the 718 market and in orange the 981 market. Now in today's market there are 40 981s for sale and they tend to cost around $90,000. And this is quite a lot cheaper than the 718s. They tend to cost around $120,000, but depending on the spec level, prices can go up to $140,000. Supply of the 718 GT4 is also much larger as there are 111 cars for sale. And out of these 111 cars, the majority are manuals. Now if we want to know how much prices changed, we of course need to compare the current market to the historical market. So that is what we will do now, and we will start with the 981 market. And to structure this comparison a bit, we will first have a look at the price and the mileage distributions, and after that we will evaluate how much cars with a similar mileage dropped in price. The graph which appears now on your screen displays the price distributions. The blue color displays today's prices, so the ones which you just saw in the previous graph, and the orange one shows the prices 1.5 years ago, so in June 2019. Now you can see that in those 1.5 years, the distribution shifted to the left. And that means that prices decreased. The median price namely dropped with $4,700, and this decrease is statistically confirmed. And this simply means that the price decrease what you see here is unlikely to be the result of mere chance. The drop in prices, however, makes perfect sense. The mileage distribution which you see now namely shows that the mileage has increased with 3.3 thousand miles. And it is of course so that when mileage is increased, prices decrease. Now let's go back to Doug's claim. He namely said that GT4s dropped with around 15%. Now it doesn't matter how I look at this data, this is simply not true. On average, prices came down with $4,700 and this is a decrease of 5%. So you would think that this is it and that the case is closed. But not really. There is of course more to it than just a change in the distributions. And that we can see with the following plot. Here we have the mileage, the price, and the depreciation per 1,000 miles curves. Here you can see that the blue curve lays below the orange one, confirming that the average price level decreased. However, you can see that the decrease is mainly driven by the low mileage cars. 1.5 years ago, the cars with a mileage under 5,000 miles were priced between $88,000 and $120,000, whereas now they are priced between $95,000 and $100,000. So the low mileage cars indeed took a large hit. Now I did the same type of analysis as the one which you just saw, but then for the cars which had a mileage higher than 5,000 miles. But that revealed exactly the same. Prices decreased. Or, to put it in other words, the price decrease is not only driven by the low mileage cars, because also the higher mileage cars came down in price. So, Doug is definitely right about the price decrease. I just think that his estimate of 15% is too high. But when it comes to his reasoning as to what is explaining this price decrease, I think he is a bit off. He first of all states that the new GT4 is hot, and that because of this, owners of the old GT4 are switching to the new one. Now perhaps this is a little bit different in the US, but here in Europe I feel that the exact opposite is going on. There is simply no hype about the new GT4. In fact, I think that the consensus is that the new GT4 is a better car in every way, but that you should still go for the old one. And the big reason for this is the sound. But then again, it might be different in the US due to different regulations. Now another reason is the production numbers, as the new GT4 is not a limited production car. But in any case, it is of course a bit subjective to evaluate a car as being hot or not. but in my opinion, there's less hype about the new GT4 than there was when the 981 GT4 was introduced. But all of that doesn't really matter for my next argument. Doug namely says that many owners are switching from the 981 to the 718 GT4 and that this caused an increase in supply in the 981 market. But this I can't see back in the data. In fact, if we go back to the graph, then you can see that supply actually decreased. 1.5 years ago there were 75 cars for sale versus only 40 now. And that's a drop of 46%. So I don't think that an increase in supply is pushing prices down. I think that first and foremost, prices decrease because of an increase in mileage. There are simply very few cars out there which don't lose value when mileages increase. Now second, I think that the introduction of the new GT4 might have played a small role in the price decrease, but that is not the main cause. As you saw from the numbers, the difference between the market now and the 1.5 years ago is not night and day. It is not like prices suddenly tanked. It is then also so that when we look at the auction results from Bring a Trailer, we can see a similar pattern as what we saw in the graphs. You can see that we have now the time on the horizontal axis and the price on the vertical axis. Now from 2017 till halfway 2019, GT4s went between $79,000 and $98,000. More recently we can see that the price range decreased slightly and that now they trade between $75,000 and $85,000. So the auction results confirm the previous results, which are based on asking prices. Doug, by the way, mentioned that many GT4 owners think that they can still sell their car for $90,000 or $100,000. And I do agree with him that these numbers are not realistic at all. But I also think that the numbers were not realistic to start with. As you can see from the auction data, not many GT4 sold above $90,000 in the first place. Now so far we of course only had a look at the 981 market. But what is going on in the 718 market? The car was of course only introduced last summer, but can we already see that prices are starting to fall? We will take a similar approach to investigate this, but we will go a little bit quicker. Before we continue though, if you like this video, please support the channel by smashing that like button. If we start with the price distributions, then we can see almost the complete story. It is namely very difficult to see a significant difference between the two price ranges. Nevertheless, we can see that in today's market, the shape of the distribution is more consistent with less hills and ditches. And this is the result of a change in market supply. And that I will show again with the mileage versus price graph. Here you can see, well, mainly orange dots. Last May there were namely only 14 cars for sale, whereas today there are 114 cars for sale. So there doesn't seem to be a shortage in supply. Now if we look at the prices, then we can see that between May and now, it is difficult to spot any price difference for the new cars. However, when we look at the current market, then we can see that the cars which have some mileage decreased in price slightly. But compared to some other cars at this price point, the price decrease is only very small. And on that note, let's wrap up and conclude. In 1.5 years time, the median price point decreased with $4,700, and this decrease is also visible in the auction results. Now this of course does not mean that there aren't any GT4s out there which lost a lot more or less than this $4,700. As we saw from the graph, especially the low mileage examples lost a lot more. So to sum it up, I definitely agree with Doug that GT4 prices decreased. I just don't agree with him on the magnitude of the decrease and the reason for the decrease. Contrary to what he said, I actually found that supply in the 981 market went down instead of up. Now there can be of course very good reasons as to why we arrive at different conclusions. The obvious one is of course that we are looking at different data. Now he didn't show his data, but I'm guessing that it is based on cars and bids. I'm however looking at almost all of the GT4s for sale in the market and at the auction results from Bring a Trailer. A second difference might be the type of data what we are using. I am looking at the asking prices and the auction results. What I am not looking at and also can't see are the actual selling prices for those asking prices. It might be so that 1.5 years ago people paid asking prices while now they are sold for 15% under the asking prices. This of course would increase the price drop, but then again, it probably would have shown up in the auction results. In any case, if you like this data-driven way of looking at car markets, please head over to my channel. Over there you will find depreciation analysis for many other cars, such as McLaren and Ferraris. Now if you can't find the car you're looking for, please comment it down below in the comment section. Once there are enough requests for a certain car, I will make a video about it. Also don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell so you get actually notified when your requested analysis goes live. As always, a huge thank you for watching and I hope to see you next week for a new video.